So it's time for an allotment update, and I'm starting here. As you can see, the idea had been to clear this area so we could build a patio, decking, and put a greenhouse on top of it before that green shed. But at the flower show my mother got rather taken with polytunnels, and we thought that was possibly an idea. However, now we're considering not doing one at all, and the reason is, firstly, we've survived for several years here, and we've done quite well without having to use one. Secondly, as Mum and Dad now have a greenhouse, well, not a greenhouse, but a conservatory at home, it's quite easy for us to grow things from seed still, or to look after them there. The problem is time. We can't come down every day to water, and we can't come down every day to open the greenhouse, to ventilate it, etc, etc. And without that, things will die. And our problem is it worth the hassle and the expense of setting up one to find that it's more hassle than it's worth? The jury's still out, and we have to do a sort of patio decking thing anyway. But whether that will happen just with pots, or whether we'll actually have a greenhouse as part of the winter weekend projects next year, we don't know yet. So these two things, these two nursery beds, still need to be dismantled and destroyed. That's fine. Then my little meadow patch is beginning to grow, but I'm not convinced. The only thing that looks like it should be there is things like that. That could well be a very nice nasturtium, but somehow I doubt it. The cornflower, however, has survived, and it has a tiny little flower on the top, so we're waiting for that to bud. The rest of the patch is beginning to come alive. You can see that there are now lavender flowers on there. You can see that our bulbs, our summer bulbs, are coming up in the middle. The pepper plants, they do look a little bit dehydrated. I think they've been bleached a bit by the sun, but there we are. The dahlias are coming back, and you can see the alstroemeria are doing well as well. So this little part of the garden, as soon as this has finished flowering, this is going to be dismantled here, because we feel that it's better to have a sort of a bay made here that we can grow peas and beans in, possibly next year, which will mean, of course, sorting out all these pots which sort of arrived from Mornington and haven't disappeared yet, and the area around there that we use for storage. There's another area on the other side of that little shed there that we need to sort out as well. You know, storage. We need to get rid of what we don't need. This is the area that now needs to be tackled. You've got my herb garden there, which is fine, and the rhubarb here, which is beginning to come to the end of its sort of season, I think. But these things have come from them. Those are the raspberry canes, and these are the little runners, and we need to sort this out. We need to dig that all round this. Basically, one of my lemon thymes has survived. I think the other one's buried somewhere underneath there. I'm quite pleased with my herb garden. It's doing very well. Everything is flowering. Thyme, rosemary has flowered. Sage is now flowering, and you can see a bumblebee enjoying the alliums of the chives there. The only thing that hasn't really taken is down here. We've got stevia somewhere down there, and that hasn't really taken, but almost everything else has. Oregano, what's down there? There's something else down there as well. Fair few, etc, etc. So I don't know what's happening, but I've got more to go in here, and I do really feel that this little portion, this little strip here of sort of devoid ground, if you like, will probably be used up this year. The celery is not doing too badly by the looks of it. Again, a little bleached by the sun perhaps. And we've started clearing the weeds around the spring onions. You can see my seed These are grown from seed, and they were supposed to be in rows, sort of along here, and they haven't really stuck to their rows at all, so, you know, we're having to pinch a few out of these seedlings, but never mind. Lettuce. The lettuce from seed hasn't done so well yet, but all the other lettuces are doing well. In fact, this lettuce is flowering. I don't think I've ever seen a lettuce flower before. That, my dears, is a lettuce flower. We've got all sorts. We've got red. I can see rocket somewhere. I think that's rocket there. So that's lovely. These are sort of more like little gems along this side. These are my radishes, and despite the fact they're not growing very quickly and do seem to be being eaten by something, you can clearly see that they are beginning to grow their little radishes. So that's lovely, although that looks terribly like a beetroot, which shouldn't be there at all, because beetroot should be over here. And the beetroot's doing better than I thought it would now that they finally, seedlings have come up. It's taken a long time to germinate. This looks like celery, but it is in fact a celeriac. Nobody likes it, but I'm growing it anyway. We've got spare room still, so I'm growing it, and we'll probably put them in the swapses box. Here are the sweet pea wigwams. We haven't had time yet to tie these to the canes, but they are sort of getting the hint. We do have a couple of flowers, which is nice to see. Look at that. Sweet pea flower, lovely. The corn is in, and we're going to wait for that to establish. It always looks crap at this time of year, but it grows to be a huge forest, which is rather nice. The parsnips have gone in. They take ages to germinate, so, you know, we have to mark them out, and God knows when they'll actually come up. Cauliflowers, doing well. What else have we got in there? Other brassicas. Quite know what these ones are. I think that could be broccoli. And the sprouts over there. I'm having to keep my voice down because suddenly there are people around. And that is, oh no, that's the broccoli. That's the broccoli. So this must be the cabbage that's down here, I think. Anyway, I have actually got some more cabbage, January King cabbage, which is over here, and that needs to go in here, and we have another cloche for that. However, you can also see that we have stragglers. These are potato plants from last year that have somehow, they're still here, and they're still coming up, even though the rest of the potatoes are over there, which is where, you know, we try to clear all the potatoes out of here, but they just keep coming back. So we're having to mind a few of the potatoes around here. Speaking of our potatoes, the first earlies here are already flowering, which is marvellous. Once the flowers are pollinated, the plant dies, and it's only when the plant has died that you start to dig them up. The rest of them we're still earthing up, because the more you earth up, the more the plant has to grow. The later it will flower, the later you get your potatoes. Garlic then, lots and lots and lots of garlic, but we do now need to sort of weed in between it really. And this is where our carrots and aubergines are, and we haven't done so well. We do have a couple of carrots, but we've had to buy more carrots, I think, from for little plants that we might have to re-put these in, because they haven't really taken very well. And I can't see anything that resembles yet an aubergine plant from seed. And our aubergine, the other aubergine here, hasn't done so well. It got hurt there, but it is coming back. The kohlrabi is looking amazing, and the beauty about kohlrabi is you can use the leaves for cabbage and the bulb as a sort of turnip. The late leeks don't look to be doing so well, but never mind. And the onions, now these are the red onions, I believe. Those are the white onions, and you can see now that they're beginning to swell at the base, which is brilliant. They'll rise up and sit on the surface. And our leeks look good. They do look good, so that's good. The tomato plants have yet to come down because we've yet to build the cloche, but they are growing nicely at home. This needs clearing again, but it will be for ruby chard when we get some. The strawberries, these are the runners that should produce good strawberries. You can see they've been lightly netted, and we're waiting now for the strawberries to actually develop. And I can't see any that are developed or ripe, but I can see, you might be able to see down there maybe, there are a number that are unripe. So, and of course the netting on here as well doesn't go all the way, because it seems to be that the further north you go, the later they are in flowering, and until the flowers are pollinated, you can't expect to get any. So net them too early and you don't get a crop forming. Net them too late and you've lost the harvest to the birds. These are the ones that should be developing and ripening down here. You can see there are a couple. They're not red yet, they're still green, but we'll see what happens. And over here are my courgettes, and the courgettes have taken fantastically. In fact, there is a courgette already forming. That is going to be the flower, and that little bit, that's going to swell, that will be the courgette. So all of these courgette plants have done well. They've all taken. Now the pumpkins and the squashes have not done quite as well. You can see they didn't do well during the transplanting. The reason we keep these so far apart is that they will eventually have, it will take up the whole of this. Whole of your vision now will be the plant, and then the main growing stem is going to start to go walky, so we leave them a lot of room. We still have extra room here, so I don't know what we're going to put there. Maybe a melon. The white currant bush doing well, probably give us a crop next year. Thornless blackberry, not this year but next year. This is the kiwi, and you can see that it's been shredded, but look at the growing tip. Look at the growing tip. We might yet get that to flourish. The fig tree has probably seen its last. And that is cranberry. I don't know how long that needs to grow before it gives us anything. Another white currant bush, but this is much smaller, and my God, it's actually produced a single currant by the looks of it. So there we are. Not ripe yet though. One of our fruit trees, not doing so badly. Plenty of room to put more stuff in down the bottom here. We come to the rest of the currants, and these are the proper currants, these are the mature plants, and you can see we lost half the harvest to frost, but the rest of it is beginning to ripen. These are red currants, and can I give you a good example there of the ripening berries? They're beginning to turn pink, and that's when they're attractive to the birds, so that's why we net them. Our gooseberry bushes down here, I don't think they've produced anything this year, but I would expect this size for them to give us gooseberries next year. That's one. This second one doesn't look so healthy, I have to say. But again, next year, all being well, this is our second red currant. Look at that. Look at that. Glorious red currants. And all of our fruit trees are looking healthy, but none of them have blossomed this year. None of them are due to produce anything this year, but they are beginning to grow. This is the blackcurrant, and because it flowered later, it missed that frost, so all of the blackcurrant harvest is still here, but blackcurrants are a little bit hard to find. There are loads, but they are buried very deeply, and they're nowhere near ripe, not even starting, but I thought as it had finished flowering I'd sort of do it up anyway. Another area of storage here, which is quite good use for the manure, the compost bin in its second year, and I think we're a little short on poo now. This is the compost bin, which is not doing too badly. Our springbank, the Saxifrega, is having a second flowering, and you can see that the dahlias, which look like that, yeah, there we are, it's coming up, as are my gladioli, but not as fast now as I'd like, which is strange. And really, I ought to weed around here as well, because there's a lot of sort of rubbish as well, and the remains of the spring flowers, which sort of need clipping really. That's the second storage area I was telling you about, and that's about it, I think. Apart from to say, that's our apple tree there, and I don't know if you can see, but we have plenty of little apples growing on the tree. There we are. That is a pretend wasp's nest to elude the wasps into thinking that there is a territory around here, though, so they don't make a nest. No idea if it works. And a water butt that's not connected and not really doing anything, so there we are.